All right, the wait is over, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally here. The 2024 NFL season is upon us. I picked all 272 regular season games. I'm going through division by division, team by team, breaking things down for you, what you can expect from the upcoming season. And of course, there will be no misses on these predictions. I'm guaranteeing 100% accuracy. It's our last division. We've made it here, folks. It's a division I'm more than familiar with. It's the NFC North, maybe the best division in the NFC. It's very, very exciting. Some really interesting teams, a couple of playoff teams. Can the Lions finally get over the hump? What about Jordan Love and the Packers and Caleb Williams now looming in the division? Let's start it off there in Chicago with the Bears. Okay, 7-10 last year for the Chicago Bears, but thanks to good GM work and a trade, they got the number 1 overall pick, and they land the generational prospect in Caleb Williams. Not only that, they had the 9th pick in the draft, and they had wide receiver Rome Odunze, many people's number 3 wide receiver. I really, really like that draft. I hate to say it. They also added Keenan Allen, traded for Keenan Allen. They add DeAndre Swift. They bring in Gerald Everett at tight end. Really, really big upgrades. Now, this team isn't great on the offensive line. That's going to be a big problem for Caleb's, but they're okay. They're not a disaster. They're bottom third, but they're just got to not be awful to let Caleb flourish. The offense, you have all these weapons. Now, there's some weird stuff with Keenan Allen here, but you still got DJ Moore. Him and Rome Odunze are building an excellent chemistry together. And DeAndre Swift, solid running back. This is a decent running back room, and I think DeAndre Swift's got a lot of good stuff to add. You have Roshan Johnson. So offensively, I think the Bears are going to be pretty decent. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, or at least what they kind of were towards the end of the season. I do think we're going to have some ups and downs, obviously. Caleb Williams is not going to come in and just be perfect. We're never really going to see a CJ Stroud type season from wire to wire like we did last year. But Caleb's looked good in the preseason. I don't put a lot of weight in the preseason. I'll be interested to see how he handles like the pressures if the offensive line isn't protecting and if he cannot turn the ball over. That was his big thing at USC. Breaking out of the pocket, trying to force the ball downfield and turning the ball over, because you can't do that in the NFL. That's the thing that Mahomes cut back on. Let's see if Caleb Williams can cut back on it. The defense was really good last year, but I do think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. They were an all or nothing secondary. They were just gamble, force the interceptions. Now, they have some really good DBs that can allow you to do that stuff, but the way the turnover game works in the NFL is you go back and forth. If you're too high one year, you come back to the medium. If you're too low one year, you come back to the medium. That's just how the turnover game works. So I think the Bears are going to take a little bit step back on defense. Their pass rush isn't really great. They traded for Montez Sweat, somehow got him back, signing him, so that does help, but it's still not a great pass rush from them. The secondary is kind of their key to locking people up, but if the offense can take care of the football and not turn the ball over, I think it's going to be really smooth. The big question here is Matt Eberflus. Is he going to be a lame duck coach? He's a defensive guy. They just drafted a generational type quarterback. He hasn't really shown me anything crazy that he's going to be the guy as a head coach. He can get the defense right, but are we trusting it? New offensive coordinator with Chicago. I think Chicago's going to have a positive season. They're not going to feel it's positive, but I think they're going to win some games. The schedule is tough. It's not an easy schedule. I got the Bears going a game better. I got them going 8-9, but I think they're going to be really positive with what they see with Caleb Williams. I don't think we're going to see a worst to first from the Bears like we saw with Houston last year, but I think it's going to be a really good year for the Bears. All in all, the future looking bright for them. 8-9, just wait one more year, Bears fan. 8-9, and then you make that jump. You kind of saw this with the Lions team a few years ago. They struggled out of the gate, but then they got it figured out. Super strong finish, and then last year they made their move. I think the Bears are in a very similar vein, so I'm going to have Chicago going 8-9, and then potentially making a big, big leap next season. Okay, the Green Bay Packers. 9-8 last year, get into the wild card, go into Dallas and beat the ever-living shit out of Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, and then really push the 49ers to the brink in the divisional round. But Jordan loved it, made a terrible interception to end that 49ers game, and that was the season. But the optimism is very high in Green Bay. Their defense was a disaster, okay? The defense was the worst defense, of the playoff teams. They were just horrid, and anybody in Green Bay will tell you that the defense was the problem. They add Boston College's head coach as their new defensive coordinator, And I don't know, man. His defense wasn't really good at all in Boston College. Now, it could be a personnel thing. I just don't think the Packers defense is really any good. It's got a lot of overrated guys on that back end. They did draft Edgerrin Cooper, who I absolutely love at linebacker. I think he's awesome. They add Jordan Morgan, the offensive lineman. He's kind of a whatever offensive lineman. There was a lot of offensive linemen. They bring in Josh Jacobs. They lose Aaron Jones, but they bring in Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs had an awful season last year. Could this be a rebound rebirth season? I think everything's more on Jordan Love and the offense with them. They got a lot of young receivers everyone kind of likes. They don't have any number one wide receiver, but they got a lot of 1B guys. They got like 2 or 3 guys that would be a 1B wide receiver. So that's a really good combination there. All in all, I think the Packers are going to be good. I think the Packers are going to be good. I think the Packers are going to win some games. I got the Packers maybe not as highly as everybody else does, but I still think they're a playoff team. I got the Packers winning 10 games. I got them going 10-7. I think that's good enough to definitely get them in the playoffs, but it might be good enough to win them division. We're going to have to see how Minnesota and Detroit do. All right, before we get into the second half of this video, if you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends. Really helps us out in the algorithm, get us out there, help support me. If you want to go see one of these NFC North teams in person or anybody in person this season, check out SeatGeek.com. Use code afterthereview for $20 off your first purchase. Let's get to my team, the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, Minnesota, my boys, 7-10 last year after really a tumultuous season. Justin Jefferson misses most of the year. You lose quarterback Kirk Cousins about halfway through the year to an Achilles injury, and it's a revolving carousel at quarterback. Now you lose Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter to free agency, but you drafted J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner to replace those guys. McCarthy unfortunately tears his meniscus. I never thought McCarthy was going to play this season, but Dallas Turner looking good. You also added quarterback Sam Darnold. Sam the Man Darnold, he is your starting quarterback this year, and you also bring in division rival Aaron Jones to play running back. Defensive back is an issue with this team. We don't have good DBs. Stephon Gilmore was just signed. He's probably going to start. Shaquille Griffin's going to start. He didn't play football last year. And then you got Byron Murphy. It is what it is for this secondary for Minnesota. Brian Flores, kind of weird vibes. It's just been a disastrous offseason. You lose Kyrie Jackson, unfortunately, to a fatal car accident. Your other starting corner, Mekhi Blackman, tears his Achilles day one into practice. So it's a whole shit show for Minnesota. Like I said, they lose McCarthy. You lose some edge there. But this offense still should be good. Sam Darnold is better than any of the 3 quarterbacks that played behind Kirk Cousins last year. And they won some games. So you have Justin Jefferson healthy. Jordan Addison's back. He's not going to get suspended this year. TJ Hawkinson's going to be out for the first half of the season, maybe less. So you do got to do that. You got to run the football better. This was an awful running back crew last year. You get rid of Alexander Mattison. If they're able to run the ball a little bit better, I think Sam Darnold could be in for a Baker Mayfield type season. We saw Baker look like he was dead in the water. He gets revitalized. Sam Darnold spends a year in San Francisco. Now he's with KOC, the quarterback whisperer, as a head coach. I think Minnesota's going to be okay on offense. They're going to be fine. The defense, I trust the defense is going to do something. They're going to try. I just don't think we're very talented on there. Pair that with an incredibly tough schedule to open. You got to win week 1 against the Giants. But other than that, it's a gauntlet. Frisco at home, Houston at home. They got to play the Jets in London. They got Detroit off of a bye. It's just a really tough early schedule for the Vikings. But with all that said, I think we can win some football games. I think we're going to be better than a lot of people are sleeping on. People are thinking the Vikings are going to be the worst team in the league. Don't think that's going to happen. Sam Darnold, I believe in enough to win games, but it's not going to be enough to get this team into the playoffs. I got the Vikings going 8-9. I just think the quarterback play is going to be slightly better. We're going to run the ball slightly better, and the defense is what the defense is. I don't think it's going to be any worse than it was last year. It's not going to be any better, but I think it's good enough to get them to 8 wins, and then you're all in on J.J. McCarthy next season. But let's finish it up with the defending NFC North champs. I didn't think I'd ever say that in my lifetime. Okay, in our grand finale, our final team 32 out of 32, the Detroit Lions, the best season for the Lions in 70 years last year, 12-5, their first ever NFC North Division Championship. They got all the way to the NFC title game and they blow a big lead. They lose a heartbreaker to Frisco. And are they knocking on the door? Is this finally the year for Detroit? Now, the defense was a big issue last year. They weren't able to rush the passer effectively. Aiden Hutchinson is nice, but there wasn't consistent pass rush from them. And the DB and the secondaries were horrible. horrible secondary. It got them killed in that game against San Francisco. Now they go and address that. They draft 2 corners in the draft. They draft cornerback Terrion Arnold with their first pick. He was my number 2 corner on my draft board. So you love to see that. They add Carlton Davis. They add DJ Reader. They add Marcus Davenport, who had some injury issues, doesn't really play hard out there on the defensive side of the ball. So the defense should be improved. Pair that with the young guys developing. The big thing is the offense. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta entering year 2, Jared Goff bringing it again for year 3. And the offensive line, they're top 3 offensive line in football, maybe the best offensive line in football, some would say. I don't know, but they're definitely top 5, top 3. This is an elite group. I do love the Dan Campbell approach. I do wonder if it does wear its welcome out, like the rah-rah coach doesn't really get this thing done. It's X's and O guys that win these Super Bowls. Now you retain offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. I think that's not getting stated enough how big of an ad that is. I do think this season will be a little different for the Lions. They are going to be on everyone's target. People slept on the Lions. They had never won the division. Nobody took the Lions seriously. That's not happening this year. They got to play a first place schedule, but they do have 14 games indoors. That's a big help. They don't got to play outdoors, and they play in like one cold weather spot this year. So that's a huge schedule benefit for the Lions. I do think they take a little step back. I do. I just think it's a tough to repeat after a tough, heartbreaking loss. They step back a little bit, but they're going to be really good. Everyone's going to take them seriously. They were excellent in prime time last year. I have the Lions going 11-6. 11-6 for the Lions, a back-to-back division title. Get them back into the postseason. Probably not going to be good enough to get them a first-round bye, but Lions in the playoffs again. They had 2 nice wins, and I definitely think the Lions could be a threat to get back to the Super Bowl. I think they take a little slide back in the regular season, but once they get into the dance, they'll be as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than they were last year. So that's going to wrap it up for us. It has been an incredible preseason. It's over. It's here. We're kicking off in Kansas City tomorrow. Ravens at the Chiefs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below on the NFC North. Am I a little too low on the Lions? You think they're more 13 wins than 11 wins? What about the Bears and the Packers? Am I too high on my Vikings? Maybe call me delusional. I don't know. But if you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Again, subscribe to the channel. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. Helps support me, allows me to keep making this great content for you guys every single day. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.